30th of December 2023, just past midnight here in the Lowveld, and I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about the year that is almost done. And there's a few things that I need to talk about. Things that you must look at, listen, and think. We have a big problem with politicians. Yes, that is not news. We all know that. The reality is, in my lifetime, politicians have changed their role, or the role of the politicians have changed. They very cleverly converted their primary role of being our representatives to becoming our rulers. That is what happened. That's the reality. And in recent times, a very clear example of this mindset was from Annalena Baerbock, or as she's better known, Annalena Dambak, stood in Kiev and spoke to Zelensky at a press conference. And she said, "I don't care what the German voters want. We will support you to the end." Now, many people did not even pay attention to the words that she used. But for me, it was highly disturbing to hear that. And I could not understand how the German public could tolerate that. I was actually dumbstruck by it, that she can say something like that. I don't care what the voters want. But okay, they did their first test run on seeing how strong their power is with the pestilence. Think carefully about the ridiculous fucking rules they forced onto us. But the most disturbing part of it all is basically the whole population just submitted to it. And that was it. And that should really worry you. But I want to give you a little bit of a different view of that mass submission, that mass compliance. The Bible tells us, many will be called, but few will answer. Schwab and his friends boldly states, 85% of us must go. Now, the mere fact that they can stand on a stage and say things like that, that should worry you a lot, and that should concern you deeply if you are a decent person. Then there's people that makes lots of statements around God's chosen people. And then there's large numbers of people in this world that try and convince you that God's chosen people is currently sitting in Israel in charge of that place, which is pure bullshit. Those Zionists are not even Hebrews. They're Khazarian Jews. So, out of the window goes that chosen people story. But then there's other people in other parts of the world, and specifically here in South Africa, that has got almost a desperate need to be Jew. I just laugh at that. Fact of the matter is, we are being coached and guided. Coached what to think and guided what to do. And we are sitting here in a world that is on the verge of a world war. And a lot of people are extremely tense about that. But we're also sitting in a world where a vast number of people are changing their tune from being 100% supportive of the Zionists to seriously questioning that support. And from what you can see and from what I see in the sources that I have, the mood is swinging away from the Zionists. And America has got a special problem. They're over their ears into debt, a debt that will destroy their country. But they don't have plans how to handle that debt. Why? Because politicians, they don't give a fuck for the people who's in charge in America. That is a reality. And then you now see this drive that they have to get Trump off the voters' roll, off the ballot. They want them off it. And 2 states has now done it. I mentioned to my wife earlier this evening when I saw that latest one. I said to her, the Democrats in America is spoiling for a civil war. Now we have to ask ourselves why. What is their fucking plan? Because if you look at the facts and you're realistic, objectively realistic, the conservative group of that nation will wipe the liberals out like that. The liberals are not a match for them, but still they spoil for the fight. Why? I have a theory that they are banking on those millions of illegal immigrants that they are so freely allowing into the States to be their warriors. That's just my opinion. Then we see in Europe enormous flood of immigrants into Europe. Once again, it was politicians that decided to allow them in. The public is going to be wiped out. But it seems to me they don't care about that. If you go and look at the Kalergi plan that was published in 1924, in there it's clearly stated that the white Europeans must go, and the onslaught against them is over the top. But yet, they take it, just as they took the shots and took the cloths around the mouth. They're taking this flooding of their countries by immigrants. They take it. It is as if they have been hammered into a coma and they're now sleepwalking to their own end. I am really worried about that. And then I think about Klaus's story of the 85%, and I think about some of the visions that Sina van Rensburg had, and I look at those things and I think to myself, that migrant waves into Europe and into America, that could be the force that will trigger a massive migration of the Boer type to South Africa. We're already seeing a lot of Boer moving to Russia, because the reality of Europe is this: there's only 3 countries where white people are safe, and that is Poland, Hungary, and Russia. So, how this is going to play out, I'm not so sure. But this 85% must go thing keeps milling in my mind. And I am beginning to see signs that they might reach that goal quite easy. But the sad part is, unnatural portion of that 85% is going to be white people. It's not going to be proportionate. So, whiteys, you better wake up. They're going to wipe you out. That's what they are planning to do. And who are the main instruments? Politicians. That is the problem. Now here in South Africa we have a situation that the one political party, the Freedom Front Plus, that is supposed to be representing the decent white people, has turned out to be a great disappointment. And they have done some bad shit to specifically the Boere. And I have done skid marks on that. But what is most disturbing is that those guys that committed those ugly shit to the Boer tribe in '92, and they are sitting at the top of the Freedom Front Plus. Now a movement is beginning to build up. I call them the rebels, that wants to clean those people out of the Freedom Front Plus. And then I get a lot of information in which the guys explain to me how the top structure of the Freedom Plus is actually almost like a dynasty. And he gave me some examples, but then he said you must investigate in the top tier of the Freedom Plus how many of those people are related and how guys landed into that top structure without climbing the ladder through the party. And the few that I have checked, it is extremely disturbing. They have actually established a dynasty. And now the rebels are pushing for a showdown. And I get reports from guys that tell me that this, I call them the Vaseline gang. That Vaseline gang is already maneuvering to avoid the confrontation planned for the 2nd of February. Well, I'm not surprised, but all I'm going to say to my tribe, the Boer tribe, if you allow that Vaseline gang to escape this confrontation, you must understand that the Boer is doomed. It is the end for us. So think about that. Think about that. And make sure that you do everything possible to bring it to the attention of all the people of South Africa that those guys are trying to duck out of that confrontation. They're too coward, too much of cowards to face the rebels and talk the thing out. No, they're going to duck. Boere, if you allow them to get away, you, your children and your grandchildren is going to pay. You cannot allow them to get away. The same thing is happening to the Europeans. The leadership there is working according to a plan that means your wipeout. Same thing is happening in America. And then I see that fucker from Canada. It is now ordered that all men's bathrooms must have tampon dispensers. What the fuck is that? But that is the world that we are living in. And I come back again and I say, Klaus published 85% must go. And it seems to me that the white people of this world, although we're less than 9% of the world population, the white people is going to make a big chunk of that 85%. Unless you take the power back. These politicians has reached a level where they are now operating untouchable. That is what they are doing. They think they're untouchable. And they prove it to us that they're untouchable. Look at the shit that they have done to us in the past 3 years. They're untouchable. Now, I want to remind you of the French Revolution. The French showed us all how you handle a ruling class that is out of control. I'm sorry, it's going to sound very crude and barbaric for 2023, but I'm sorry. It's the only way that it's going to work, because look at what happened to Trump. He made a big story of draining the swamp, and then instead of pulling the plug on the swamp, they were walking around the swamp and threatening the crocodiles. And then the crocodiles one morning said, okay, fuck you, come and take us out. We're not going to go. You want us out, you'll have to take us out. And what happened? Crocodiles are merrily going along in that same swamp that Trump threatened to drain. Now, my message to the Boere in South Africa is you better take note of how it went fucking wrong for Trump. You cannot threaten the Vaseline gang and not follow up and follow through. You have to do it. And for you, the rebels, you are going to be surprised if you see the support you're going to get out of the public. But you are the guys that are there in the front line. You must make fucking sure that that Vaseline gang does not escape the confrontation. If they escape the confrontation in Centurion, you'll have to go and hunt them. That's all that can be. But make sure you send the message out to them strong and hard. Come to that fucking meeting. Come to the battle lines, or we will come after you. That message must be strong, pure, and true. Don't let what happened to Trump and his draining the swamp shit happen to you at the Battle of Centurion. Don't do that. It will be a fatal mistake for the Boer nation. In any case, I just thought I want to leave you with some thoughts. Think about. Please give me a like and a subscribe and share the thing. Thank you for your support.